All right, y'all. Today we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business. We're going to check out its local search, its city search, and we're going to see if it's got BSS, yes or no. All right, so we're back here in the GBC universe. Where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. And as always, our North Star here is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that, pinned video up on the top, homepage, wherever. Now, this is because FSIC explains that all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got in white down there, our intent, basically our intent spectrum, highest intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And so if a boudoir photography business is rising, it's most likely bringing in peeps from the entire intent spectrum, the whole length. And if a boudoir photography business is falling, then most likely it's missing, not bringing in, some cohort of people. Now, the highest 10 people over on the left are doing things like Google search, social media search, like a boudoir photo shoot in their city, like right now. And those people are fastest to the money, highest to convert. We talk about that with BSS here in our videos. And then our sister brand, way at the end over there, name is Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. That's where we are talking about BLCS. But right now, we're only currently working with the boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So on to BSS. BSS is boudoir search sameness. That's when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google for the highest intent buyer keywords in their city. And so 0 slots is awful. I mean, we're basically dead at that point. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even reach page 2. So 80% of Google searches literally, one and done Google searches, or page 1 and done Google searches. So from page 2, only approximately 20% of searches of people searching will ever even find us. And page 1 slot, that's not good either. Or 1 slot on page 1. I mean, it's better, but we're still basically invisible because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1. If we go on one of them, then there's basically 9 other boudoir photographers with 1 slot. Best scenario. Worst scenario is if another boudoir photographer is like 2 or 3, and then we're kind of really never getting looked at. But let's say everyone has 1. And guess what a buyer's doing? They're going down, clicking open everyone's link on page 1, because approximately 80% of buyers ain't even hitting page 2. And guess what? They're contacting everyone on page 1, getting a quote from everyone, comparing, price gets shoved down through the roof or down through the floor, and kind of steals margin from everyone. So 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google, no, that's BSS. We cannot deal with any of that. And that's because 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google is actually not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. So it's super common, it's accepted, but symptom of 2 deeper root causes, and those are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, yeah, basically everyone knows this. It's like, seems like every week somebody gets a new iPhone, and then they're throwing up their Google My Business profile and their websites and the National Boudoir. That's kind of taking competition, page 1 organic slots away from us. Or someone gets a camera, and they're posting to the mom groups in the National Boudoir. Also, big wave of this happened during COVID. People lost their jobs, it's out there in money. So as a result, everyone's got a smartphone and an awesome camera. So pretty easy people to say that they now offer boudoir. But what that does increase the supply of boudoir photographers, but the number of buyers remains the same. So that makes it harder for every seller, every boudoir photographer to be getting those clients. All right, so everyone knows that. Basically, everyone knows that. Basically, nobody knows about this second thing, which is the false belief of page 1 equality. So that is kind of boudoir photographers kind of automatically assuming without even questioning that every boudoir photographer is entitled, to like either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, maybe they had their slot 8 on page 1 of Google with their website. So new boudoir photographers came in, ranked higher, and got pushed out to page 2. And it's like, oh, well, every boudoir photographer gets 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. It is what it is. And basically, they're believing there's nothing that can be done about it. This is 100% incorrect. And I know this for a fact because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days with this new strategy we're going to show you all today, or that I'll describe today. And it's kind of like we got to break through the mental barrier of accepting this as a false belief. And then once we do that, we can see, okay, there is a solution out there that we'll get to in like 2 pictures here. That, okay, we can use this to actually literally get as many page 1 slots on Google as we want to put in the effort for. Next, a boudoir photographer BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So, disappearing boudoir photographer. Basically, if we got 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google, we're disappearing because we're either on page 2 or deeper, and approximately 8% of searchers are never going to find us, and that's the bulk of the market that we care about. And if we got one slot on page 1 of Google, we're being price shopped against the other 9, destroying our margins. We're basically invisible anyways. And we care about this because the disappearing boudoir photographer is the warning light. It's kind of the the red flag going up, where the disappearing boudoir photographer precedes the boudoir photography business itself disappearing. So that's why we care about that. And we got our micro universe here. We got disappearing with boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness. It's caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page 1 the false belief of page 1 equality, where we accept it's a false belief. So we're like, okay, now what's the solution? Boom, we finally got a solution. But through our testing, we've learned that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And we know this works because we invented it. It's what I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots, page 1 of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page 1 of Google, in only 10 days. And I mean, it works exactly as it's described. We saturate social search with the highest intent keywords, pick up as many slots on social as possible on social search, and that kind of acts as like the backside of the Andes Mountains in South America, where the streams, the small rivers from the backside of the Andes Mountains actually all flow together to the Amazon River, and into the big Amazon River. That big Amazon River is like page 1 of Google, and so, but it all starts with social search saturation. That's where it all stems from. And the cool thing about this is the only solution I've ever seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight against market saturation, so maintain the business and not decline, but also still grow in the face of market saturation, and for it to happen relatively quickly. And those at least visible results of getting on page 1 of Google that happen relatively quickly. The only other solution that I have seen is having a strong brand, but that takes 5 to 10 years, which doesn't satisfy the relatively quickly criteria that we need. Because dude, we're in the AI. Dude, AI taking people's jobs. We gotta get as much. We gotta get as much slots on page 1 as Google as possible before AI starts taking people's jobs. And I mean, it's pretty easy to see. SQ methodology can do this. So imagine we're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there's 1 million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got their websites and they shoot boudoir. So page 1 competition is insanely crazy. And let's say we take, we see that and we say, okay, we got to take S-cubed methodology to the max. So what we actually do is we actually do S-cubed methodology so hard that we're like the first 300 slots on social search for the highest intent keywords, highest intent buyer keywords for boudoir in our city across all the social networks. And then let's say that flows onto Google, and we're taking like the first 300 slots on Google for the highest intent keywords for boudoir buyers in our city. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. So we're really taking out the first 30 pages on Google. So anytime any buyer looks up, types in a high intent buyer keyword into Google, or even any of the social networks, they're only seeing us. They basically got to go to like page 31 on Google to essentially find any of our competitors. And so once that happens, then basically once that happens, and buyers can essentially only find us. They only see us. Who are they going to go with? Obviously us, whose business will be growing, even though there's 999,999 other boudoir photographers. Obviously us, and whose business will be dying and disappearing because they essentially cannot be found at all for anyone searching. All our competitors. So again, this is why I said the SQ methodology is the only thing I've seen that helps boudoir photographers maintain and still grow their business in the face of market saturation. That happens, or I can get on page 1 of Google relatively quickly, way faster than brand. And in my estimation, I could probably build that brand about 8x faster normally, because we show up so much more on so many other surfaces. Now, once you're with SQ methodology, we now have page 1 visibility. So, we got multiple slots on page 1 of Google as an initial benefit. Second initial benefit is every new slot we get on page 1 of Google, we're actually kicking one of our competitors at that slot, push them off to page 1 or deeper, making so approximately 80% of Google searches can never find them. So we turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers, where if they stay there, they're eventually going to exit, be kicked out of the market. So this is an awesome, second initial benefit of using SQ's methodology. So we're making other peeps invisible. And page 1 visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So BSV, we actually, this for our GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google comes in. So the GBC universe recommends 3 out of 10 slots page 1 of Google because basically every other boudoir photographer page 1 of Google will have 1 out of 10 slots or 1 slot. So if we see 3, or if a buyer sees 3, they're kind of subconsciously going to think, man, why is Google recommending this person so much? I guess I'll click into them and may not even click on any of our competitors. And second reason GBC Universe recommends 3 out of 10 as the minimum, because there's a tiny, tiny, tiny chance another boudoir photographer can have 2, which means we also got to be able to dominate them in that case as well, with us having 3. So, and the recommendation of 3 is basically if we got 3 out of 10 page 1 on Google, we're basically guaranteeing we're not declining. So we're guaranteeing we're either, treading water, so maintaining the business, or growing the business. Most likely growing the business, but at least we're at least not declining. That's like the big goal here. And finally, boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer. So we got our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page 1 and the false belief page 1 equality. Now we have the solution S-cubed methodology. We achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results doing this. So I wanted to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I know, okay, the exact thing I do for that is S-cubed methodology. I want to have as many slots page 1 Google as possible. Let's go down the organic slots. And we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 9, no, I'm not slot 9. Slot 10, me. So dude, I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days, purely using S-cubed methodology. So these are the results I've gotten for myself with it. Now, all right, main event here. Let's see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for its its local search and its city search. Also going to see if it is hitting the recommended GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google. All right, so we're going to Rancho Cordova, California. All right, so here we go. We're in Rancho Cordova, California. And let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. No, that doesn't count. All right, so we got 0 out of 10. So we got BSS for our local search, and we are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum 3 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google. We're going to go to our city search now, larger city search, Sacramento, California. Let's check it out here. Let's see. All right, we got 1. Boom, nice. City's always harder than local. So all right, we got 1 out of 10. And let's see. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 local. So we do still got BSS for that one. All right, so final result, we got so local we got 0 out of 10. So we got BSS. City we got 1 out of 10. We also have BSS, and for both, we did not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google. So if you are a disappearing boudoir photographer, so you've done the BSS search for local and for city for yourself, and you are you're saying you either got BSS or you're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google, and you've seen S-cubed methodology, like, wow, that is exactly what I need. That's what I want. That's what I've been waiting for. Kind of solve this, kind of dominate page 1, which honestly is kind of secondary benefit. Kicking our competitors off page 1 is probably the most important thing. Getting them to page 2, where they're invisible to approximately 80% of Google searches. And you're saying, okay, S-cubed methodology, you decide, okay, that can get you there. And the you understand the page, the false belief of page 1 quality is exactly that, a false belief. So you're like, okay, now we can break through kind of mental barrier and see what are the solutions after to take as many page 1 slots on Google, as I want to put in the effort to acquire. And you understand market saturation, basically new gear, new people coming into boudoir, new websites, new people competing on page 1, yeah. But you're also looking ahead, seeing AI is going to take more and more people's jobs. And since everyone's got a smartphone with an awesome camera, it's actually going to force more and more boudoir photographers into the market than potentially ever, just because AI is going to be so widespread. So you're thinking ahead. You like the initial benefits of Boudoir, where basically, or at least you like the initial benefits of getting more slots page one on Google, kicking out more Boudoir photographers off page one on Google, and you also like that SQ methodology can actually fortify your position in the new Boudoir peeps coming into the marketplace. And so you're seeing, okay, SQ methodology can help fortify that position as well, kind of like building up the levees for New Orleans, Louisiana, to keep the ocean out because New Orleans is below sea level. And you want to achieve page one visibility. You want to become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility because you need those things in order to become #1 boudoir photographer in your city. And you're also thinking ahead to the extended future benefits, which is kind of the more that we execute S cubed correctly every single day, we're building up these kind of invisible thematic keyword columns attached to our brand, attached to our business, attached to our kind of like invisible mindshare for AI mindshare. And that actually increases the probability that we are brought up in this AI overview premium placement. This probability increases every day we run S cubed methodology correctly. And this is a premium placement. And also to increase the probability that AI search recommends this, ChatGPT search and Claude search, Perplexity search, Microsoft Copilot search, Google Gemini. Because I remember the last time I looked for a boudoir photographer in a city, they only recommended me 3. And I went on Google to look at that city, like actually how many options exist. There's about 60. So I was like, dude, we gotta figure out a way to get on here. So you're also seeing S cubed methodology is the best way to get that done. And you're also seeing, since we be on all these social platforms, dominating the social search, we can create a brand much faster, which is really just kind of like momentum mindshare. And you're also seeing that you decide to be a first mover advantage and be the first one in your city to utilize SQ methodology because my current plan is to only work with one boudoir photographer for your city. So that enables you to kind of box out all your competitors from using this. So you're saying you can get super ahead with all these slots page one on Google, all this momentum of basically all this momentum of kind of this invisible thematic keyword column mindshare, and really put a large amount of distance between yourself and all your competitors. And conversely, if one of your competitors works with me instead, you understand you'd have to go and rederive or derive for the first time SQ methodology. And then you'd have to then go execute it at the same rate as me and your competitor each day. And you probably wouldn't feel comfortable putting that much time in because you'd never be 100% confident that you've even derived it or rederived it correctly in the first place. And then at that point, even if you equal our effort, our output, you would simply be maintaining the gap we've already built between you. You have to actually double or triple our output to kind of close that gap and gain on us and kind of pull back this thematic keyword, invisible thematic keyword columns from kind of AI mindshare we're acquiring. You'd have to pull that momentum away from us. And like, dude, who's got 80 hours a day to do all this? Who's got 80 hours a day? Nobody. So you've decided, screw that. You've already decided you're gonna be the first one to actually, the first one in your city to utilize this. So you can get all these initial benefits and future benefits. So that's you. Shoot me a DM. The hospital is currently closed, but if you actually, when I do open DMs for new patient intake, shoot me a DM then, and we'll see if you qualify for utilizing our S cubed methodology.